Francis.
Hi Isaac, and welcome to this live broadcast.
Thank you.
Uh,
I'm honored to be here.
okay.
My channel. I really want to thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
You are most welcome. You are most welcome. Um, so,
Okay.
so Isaac is a developer, a software developer who mostly does integrations to Business Central. So maybe Isaac, you can just take this time and introduce yourself, maybe what you do and all that.
Okay. I prepared a little PowerPoint presentation.
Sure,
So I hope
sure.
you don't mind sharing my screen.
Yes, you can share
That's
screen.
okay.
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 Yeah, beautiful.
Okay. That's okay. So
Yeah.
today we're talking about Dynamics BC Web Service integration in Go, C# and Python, and mostly any other language that you might find in the field. So I'll just proceed. So about me, my name is Isaac Kipto. I'm a software engineer or software developer. I work at a fintech, a company that develops banking solutions for clients in the banking industry. So that's my email address there, my mobile phone number, and my LinkedIn and GitHub links. So today we're going to talk about system integration and integration in regards to Business Central. And so we'll first start with the system integration, like what is it and why we need it in the first place. So the dictionary defines system integration as a process of uniting virtual and physical components into a single cohesive infrastructure. So basically, it's just you have two separate systems, and you want them to talk to each other or to communicate with each other. So just the process of having them do that effectively. So an example I've given there is you have like an example, a bank or an organization that is running BC, and you need to a way to communicate between its ATM machines and the core banking system, which is BC in this case. So in this case, the ATM doesn't run BC or doesn't process AL code. So basically, you have the ATM is built in something like C, C++, or something of that sort. So you need a way of the ATM machine actually communicating, so sending requests to BC, and maybe even BC sending requests to the ATM itself, so to and fro. So that's where integration comes in. It's basically just having them talk to each other in one language that both understand.
So you're saying like integration in a nutshell is two systems communicating with each other, like sending and receiving information from each other. Okay.
Yes. So we're going to look at web services. So web services are just components that enable now the integration to take place. So for BC, BC has like web services inbuilt in it. So web services is a concept that you have a system and you want developers or maybe someone else to be able to interact with it, to be able to query, to insert, or maybe to do some processing, to send some data to be processed to that service. So in BC, it has two modes or two technologies for web service integration. There's SOAP and OData. So OData is mostly used for things like, you see, for example, the pages in BC. So they use OData to communicate between the page itself on the web and the backend, so sort of the database. So mostly what developers prefer is SOAP, because SOAP is a bit more developer friendly and is a bit more simpler, or the learning curve is not that steep in terms of SOAP. So in this tutorial, we'll focus on SOAP and maybe do some 1, 2, 3 examples of SOAP and SOAP communication to BC. So yeah.
Sure.
I'll just show you something like a sample request on SOAP. So these are sample requests. This is what it looks like. So here you have the SOAP environment. So this first line is just about where do you want to send this data. It's a dynamics system. It has a code unit. The code unit is called math. Then this is the body now. It defines the body. Then you have sort of the function that you're calling. It's called add. Then X and Y are just parameters that you're passing to that code unit. So that's just the explanation of these are sample requests that you would send from maybe a programming language like Java, C++, Python, or some other language. So this is what you would send to BC.
So that's XML, the example you've used.
Yes, this is XML.
Sure.
So SOAP is basically XML. Right. So SOAP is a standard, and it's based on XML. XML is sort of its parent. Maybe do you have any questions, Francis?
No.
Proceed.
We can proceed. You can proceed.
That's okay. That's okay. That's cool. So we look at programming languages. So in this sort of session, we decided to focus on 3 languages. One is Python. So the other is C# and a language called Go. So Python is a programming language that most people have interacted with it, maybe at college level, at boot camps, or maybe if you just wanted to learn programming for the fun of it, or to do some minor tasks. So you could have come across Python. So most people in the industry use Python for things like artificial intelligence and machine learning processing features. So that's what Python really excels on. That's sort of its selling point, if you may. So a sample hello world on Python is something like this, hello BC. So it's just one line. It's not really complicated. Most of the reasons actually people choose Python is because it's easy to learn, easy to understand, easy to maybe, if you're coding in a team, it's easy for the other team members to understand your code. So it's really good for teams. Then the C#. C# is a language by Microsoft. So it was developed by Microsoft and it's maintained by Microsoft. So it has a wide array of users in the industry. Things like web apps, there's ASP.NET, things like desktop apps, things like mobile apps, with things like Xamarin, and games with stuff like Unity that uses C#. So given that it's developed by Microsoft, you can argue that BC and C# are really related in a way. So if you've ever taken maybe a small BC file, decompiled, you'll notice that it's written in C#, like an executable in BC. If you decompile, you'll get the C#. So it's really important that maybe we learn how to integrate between C# and BC, because you really come across it when you're doing most of your work, or maybe you might find that your role, you're maintaining software that's written in C#, and maybe the organization is adopting BC or something. Then we go to C#, like sample code is something like this. So you have here the name of the class. So it's object oriented. So it has classes. So you see something like the name of the function. So this is the main function, and this is sort of the hello world. So in this you have like 5, 6 lines or 7 lines, whereas in Python it was just 1 line. So that's why maybe Python excels for beginners. Then you have Go or Golang. So Golang is a really new language that was developed by Google. It's really, Google sat down and looked at the shortcomings of Java, C, and C++ in the operations. So they noticed that most of the issues they were solving for those languages, they were customizing those languages for use in the organizations. They could be solved by developing a new programming language. So that's why they developed Go, and it's a really good language if you're doing things to do with like scaled operations, things that require maybe huge amounts of data to be processed, so stuff like that. And if you want really fast operations like concurrency, so the way normal programming languages operate is that you might have maybe one thread that's running on a single core, but for Go, you have like many threads running the same application. So you have sort of like faster execution times when you're doing operations in Go or programming in Go. So it's important to know how to integrate it to BC, because most of the organizations in the world are moving to Go for their backend systems. So these are sample Go code. So you have like the name of the package main. So this is just to identify that it's maybe in this sort of classification or the entry point of the application. So you have the function name, it's called main, and then the hello world, the hello world. So for this, it's like 4 lines. So that's why it's sort of a sweet spot between the old programming languages and Python. So it's really, it might be easier for maybe newbies or new programmers to learn it. So I'll just proceed to maybe show you now how to integrate each of these 3 languages using to basic using SOAP Web Services. So I'll just I'll switch to another screen now. Francis.
Yes.
Hello, Francis.
Hello. Yes, Isaac.
I hope time is not really running out or something.
No.
Are
Just
we still within the constraints?
no. There is no limit. We just want to learn, and we just focused on gaining the knowledge as of now.
That's okay. Thank you.
Okay.
So this BC application I've opened on my VS Code. So just the Cronus, the basic functionality or the demo functionality that comes with BC. So on this, I'll show you how to create maybe web services and how to interact with web services on this. So maybe the first thing that you usually need to do is to create a code unit. Then after creating a code unit, you expose the code unit through a web service, so through a SOAP web service. So on this, I'll just right click and say new file, so code unit. So this code unit, maybe I'll give it, I know I have some ideas, so I'll give it like 8. Then the name of the object. I want to call this something like addition or basic hello world. Then the source table, I don't have a source table. Then I'm not implementing an interface, so I'll just finish. So on this, right after that, you see the code unit, basic hello. So if you have interacted with code units before, which I hope you have, this is just the basic you get when you have a code unit. So the first thing I'll do is create just a simple function, a procedure. I'll call it say hello. Then a response, which is the type text. So the begin and the end. So I'll just on this, I'll just set a response to hello world, or something more defined, like hello from Basil. Then after this is just a sample, simple function. It has nothing much, no variables, just the simple, just to make sure that you can connect to BC and BC can hear as well and respond. So I'll run the code. So this publishes the package. So after publishing, the thing I'll do, let me maybe share the whole of my screen so that it can make it easier rather than sharing an individual screen. Yes, so I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. So after doing that, then I'll just go to PC and create a web service based on that code unit. So the first thing I'll do here is search for web services. So this gives me the list of all web services that are there in the sort of the database I'm working with, or the code base I'm working with. So you can see here there are like code units. You can delete some, maybe you can add others, and also you can edit and maybe reassign different code units to the web service. So I'll just say new, then I'll choose the type. My type is a code unit. So on the type of web service, you can work with either a page, a query, or a code unit. So those are the types that are offered there. So the object ID, I'll just go back to VS Code and copy the object ID for the code unit I just created. This should give me the name of that object. Just a moment. So this is the name of the code unit. You can see here, basic hello. Then the service name. So for the service name, it's not necessary that maybe you call it this name here. You can just give it just a friendlier name or something different. So the hello from BC or hello BC, something of that manner. Then you can see that if you want to publish it to all tenants, and also if you want it to be published. So if at some point of the web service you notice that maybe you don't need it anymore, you can unpublish. Then you can see the auditor URL and the SOAP URL. So if I say published, then it will give me some SOAP URL here. So you can see the SOAP URL, just a moment. So basic hello BC, this is the SOAP URL. So the SOAP URL, let me just copy it and paste it here. So let me go through the components of this. So on this, you can see the HTTP is basic, then XPS is the name of the machine. you can do something like localhost, or if it was on a certain IP, you can just put the IP here. Then you can see the port that the web service is running on. So then, so this port is something that you can actually define. Let me show you something about that port and maybe getting that port if you ever need it, if you ever need to change it. Maybe it collides with a certain port in the system. So here, if I expand, you can see the name of the instance. I'm running on BC200. So if you collapse these others, or if you scroll and you see SOAP web services here, you can actually enable or disable SOAP services for the whole instance. So for this instance called BC200, I have this checked. Then you can enable SSL. So if you have a like HTTPS certificate, then you can enable on that. Maybe you can read on Microsoft's process or guide on how to enable SSL on web services. Then you have the port here. These are just the control parameters, the maximums for like concurrent requests, message size, and such. Then you have the port and the base URL. So the port, you can notice here that it's the same thing as what we have on this. So that's the port it's running on. BC200, this part is the name of the instance. It's called BC200. Then WS means it's a web service. Then this is the name of the company that we are running on. It's called Cronus. It's just the demo company, the basic one. Then we are running a code unit. The name of the code unit is called HelloBC, or the name of the service now is HelloBC. So if I paste this on the browser, this is one way of confirming that your web service is running. You can see that it gets you some data here, some XML data. This is called a web service definition language, WSDL. So on this, you can see sort of the key informations actually are here. That you can see the name of the functions that you have. You have a function called say hello. It has no parameters. Then it has a return type. It's called result. Then these are just operational stuff within that code unit. So I'll proceed to maybe show you how to now work with this URL here. So there's a tool called SoapUI. So if you just go on Google and say SoapUI, you can see this here, this tool. So SoapUI is a tool that it's an IDE that developers use when they're interacting with SOAP web services. So you can, it's available. There's a community and a paid version. So the free version and the paid version. So on resources, or I think it's tools, you can say download here on SoapUI. So SoapUI open source. So this one is the paid one. This is the open source one. So since you're doing just the basic stuff, you can download this open source version of SoapUI. So for me, I've downloaded it and I have it set up and installed on my machine. So this is the UI that you get on SoapUI when you open it for the first time, or when you have just installed it. So on this, you have here, there's a new SOAP project, a new REST project. Since you're working with SOAP, we'll say the new SOAP project. Then it will ask for the name of the project. Say something like basic hello. It's not necessarily that you don't have a space, you might have a space there. Then you have initial WSDL. I'll just paste the web service there. Then create sample requests. So these create sample requests. You'll have like this makes it easier when you're working with a new web service, one that you have not set up on SoapUI. Then test suite. If you want to do some tests, then you say create a suite. Then relative paths. this stores all the parts relative to the project file. Maybe if you are if you're doing like something like sending files or something, so on this I'll just say okay. This will ask for username, password, and domain. So since it's my local machine, I'll just enter my username here. The password. Well, let me try something. There's an account I created called trainer. That's the password. Domain, since it's on my local machine, I'm not on a domain, then I may just leave that blank. Then if you're on a domain or on a network that's attached to a domain, or a PC that's attached to a domain, you'll enter the domain there. That's okay. A moment. Let me enter some other details. Okay. So after you've entered the correct password, you'll see here the, let me just delete this. There's the ones from the failed additions, failed request. Save no. So here you'll see the functions. So the functions within that sort of Business Central code unit. So hello BC. So this code unit here, the name is say hello. You can see this. So you can create another sort of procedure or another function that says something like say hola. Then change maybe the text of that. And then once again, if you come here, if you maybe added a function and you want to update it, then on this, just a moment, I'll say add WSDL. You request that. You'll enter the username, password, and the domain. Moment. Let me just enter the correct password.
The username could be wrong. You used the long username, I believe.
Okay.
Have you checked your username, Isaac?
Yes. On this, actually, it's update definition. Sorry for that. Update definition. So it asks you if you want to recreate the requests, keep existing, keep SOAP headers. So on this, if you say okay on this, update of interface successful. Oh, a moment. Sorry for that. We need to republish this. So I think that's something, if you're coming from the old Dynamics environment, like after every change you need to republish something, you maybe need to keep reminding yourself. So that's update successful. So you can see the new function here. So maybe we'll use this function. You can see the request. So this is the SOAP request that you're sending. So on this, since you need to authenticate it, So you need to authorize it. So you add a new authorization. So basic. So there's basic, NTLM, and Kerberos. So basic is just the basic one, the Windows user and password and the domain. NTLM is it's the same thing, but it has a bit of an extra layer of security to it. Since it's on my local machine, we'll just say basic. I'll enter the username. Then let's start. So that's okay. So I'll just send the request. Then you can see the response from BC here, Ola from BC. So which is actually what we're expecting on this other side. So if we change it like say hey, then we republish it and rerun that, it will say hey from BC. So that's just sort of the basic hello world of it. So on this, the thing that maybe you find SoapUI useful for is just doing these basic tests, things that have to do with maybe you don't know how the XML will look like, or it's your first time doing the kind of integration. So you'll need SoapUI to be able to know the kind of SOAP request that's required and the SOAP response that you'll be getting from that SOAP call, from that operation, or that function call. Then I think I'll move on to something more elaborate, something more deeper a bit. I'll just go to and create a new code unit here. This is 9. These I'll call basic math. Then finish. So on this, I'll show you how to do things like passing variables between BC and sort of the web service. So I'll create a procedure here. Call it add. Then response is a number. Is it index? Yes. Then begin end. Then we'll have like some parameters here. So the first parameter, I'll just call it x. So as a just as a good coding practice, or a good development not to have, is that always call your variables descriptive names. Don't call it something like x or y. But for this case, I'll just do something basic. Y is an integer. Then on this, since it's add, I'll just say response or sum. Call this sum. Sum is result. Let me just call it response is equal to x plus y. Just that basic. Then I'll create another one, call it multiply. Then response is x minus y in this case. X multiplied by y, sorry. Then I'll publish this. So that's successful. Then I'll just go back to the web services. I'll say new web service. Same process as the previous. It's a code unit, and I want it to use this object. This is the ID. Basic math. Just call it something like math PC. Doesn't really matter what you call it, as long as you have this right, the object ID, right? And after it gets the object ID, it will show you the object name, the name of the object. So with that, I'll say this is published. Then If I go to the next line or I reload up here, it should give me the SOAP URL. So if I open that, I'll see now that this is a bit different from the previous one. If you can just compare, this one has this bit called the sequence. So the sequence is the parameters that you are passing. So X is an integer, Y is an integer, it's a multiplication operation, return value is an integer. So that's just the basic sort of explanation on that. So I'll come on this other side and in the projects, create a new SOAP project. I'll call it basic math. The initial WSDL is that. Then okay, username, password. That's okay. So on here you can see the two functions that you added on BC. There's add and multiply. So add, if you double click on it, it will give you sort of the signature of the function, how the function is supposed to look like. So X, you can do something like 4, Y, 5, something of that manner. So the result should be an addition of these two. So if you run that, let me add authentication headers or authorization headers. So add new authorization, basic, username, and password. So that's like that. So if you send it, it should give you the return value. In this case, it's 9. The same thing, it's the same thing with the multiply. So send this 4 multiplied by 5, authorization. So this will give you a 20. So this is just sort of to show you maybe how you can use parameters. You can do parameters, passing it there. Another common way that I've seen people do is instead of having like these parameters. So if you're doing something like maybe adding 10 numbers, so for that you wouldn't actually need 10 parameters. You just need one parameter that's a JSON type. So let me just show you on that before we close on math operations. So subtract. So X and Y will erase that and have just one parameter called like request type. Then response can be integer or a text or something. Then for this request, I don't think I'll have maybe the time to show you this. Maybe you can find out later something. Let me just open a new file here. You can do something like this: X 1 Y 4. Something of this one. What this allows you is you have just one parameter here that is request, but you're passing many variables. So you have these many values as one parameter. You're holding it as one variable. So what this allows you is you can have things like maybe you're doing sums. So you're doing something like values. So you can have a really complex sort of operation. So this instead of having a service being called like 5 times, it's just called once, and these are the values that you're passing. So X, Y, X, Y, X, Y. So you can read more about that later. For this, I just want to make it simple to understand and simple to grasp. So let me just erase this. You can read the conversion between maybe text and converting it to a JSON object. So Nav has a type called a JSON object, something like this. So in JSON, it has these 4 types: JSON array, object, token, and value. So maybe it's something for you to explore. If you're looking into integrations with maybe complex types, you can have like 20 parameters that you need to pass somewhere, or you need to call a web service maybe 50 times. It's something that you can make use of. JSON is something you can make use of. So that's that. I'll go to maybe now looking at this from the angle of a programming language. So for this, all along you've been maybe doing the SOAP requests, calling the web service from SoapUI, which is really not what you want to do in the industry. You want maybe your C#, your Java, your Python application to call BC directly. You don't want to come and enter maybe data here. It's really impractical. So what I have for that is a tool called Postman. So Postman, if you've never heard of it, it's a really helpful tool when you want to do things to do with testing APIs or creating API documentation. So if you can just Google Postman. So you have this Postman API platform. This is the software I'm talking about. If you go to their site, there's a link called Download Postman. So on this, it gives you a link for downloading it. Windows installation, it has instructions for installation. Basically, it's a really straightforward installation. It doesn't have maybe many parameters going around. It's a next. You finish installation, you start using it. So on this, I'll just come back to Postman. So on Postman, since you've already downloaded it and you've set it up, so there's things called workspaces. Workspaces are just groups of projects that maybe you want to categorize under one. Then there's collections. Collections are maybe if you have different tasks to do, you can create a collection for each. Then inside the collection, you have a request. So request is now the actual call to BC or to whichever web service you're calling. So for this, I'll call add. This is the name of the request, and it's a post. So if you come back to Postman to SoapUI, you'll notice that what you're sending here, if you say XML or raw, the thing that you're sending here is just this text here, and you're sending to this URL, and it has authorization. So it's just basically a post request. So you can see this here. It's a post to this, and these are the headers that you're sending with it. So I'll come back to the first one, the first request. So say hello. Sorry. So this is a post, and you'll enter the URL here. So I'll just copy this. And then you'll have the authorization. Authorization you can set to basic authorization. So username, password, and if you had like a domain as well, in that case, you might want to use something like NTLM authentication that has domain details. So if I say basic authentication here, basic auth, just enter my username. Then if I say send, it won't send anything because I don't have a body yet. So body is just this data here that you are seeing on SoapUI. It's just basically what you want to send to BC in this case. So I'll say raw, and the type is XML because SOAP the underlying technology behind SOAP is XML. I'll paste this, maybe beautified, maybe look better. Then I'll come on the headers. On the headers, there's a key header that is usually required, and that's the SoapAction header. So this tells Business Central maybe the name of the code unit of the web service and the function to call. So I'll just copy this here. So as you can see, just make it easier for you. You might want to run it on SoapUI first, then you come and copy the SOAP headers and maybe the data that you need once you've made sure that it's working well. So on this, there's a SOAP action. So SOAP action, let me just take you through this in a well. You're telling BC that you want to call a code unit called or a web service called Hello BC. Hello BC is tied to a certain code unit, and that you are calling the function say hola. So that's why it's called a SOAP action. Yes. Then the body, you have it ready here. It's the same. It's the same content that we sent on SoapUI. Then if you send this. Unauthorized. Let me just set my headers right. The auth. Moment. So for this, actually, there's some confusion here, since this is using NTLM authentication, like NTLM authentication and basic authentication. Sort of NTLM is a more advanced version of basic authentication. With basic authentication, maybe it's not that secure. NTLM is a bit secure than basic. So here you can see the response. And it's inside a HTML sort of XML tag called return value. So so this is the part now where the programming languages come in that on Postman has a feature called code, which you can view the code for generating that request actually. So on this, it supports a wide array of technologies or programming languages. You have C#, Curl, Go, HTTP, C, just all the technologies that you might want to use or you might find in the industry. So on this, I'll choose something like Go. Then it gives you the code here, the code that's maybe running that generates that request. So it's that easy really, but it already writes the code for you, and you can just take that code, copy it, and run it. So let me just open an IDE. I think I have it open somewhere here. So I'll create a new project. We'll call it BC training. So for this, I'll need to create a new Go file, a simple application, call it main. Then, since I already have the definition here, the package main and the func main, I'll just copy this, the whole thing, and paste it here. Okay. Go is a bit messy in terms of it's a bit strict, sort of. It doesn't really accept messy code that is all around the place. So for this, if I can do 3 quotes, or if you can just make it one line, then use it as one line. Or better yet, there's a tool called XML formatter. And then so you can say minify, it converts it to one line of a request. So once you do that, then you can format your code, then you can run it. So you might get something like an error around authentication, something. Hello, Francis.
Yes, Isaac.
Are you still following, or are you comfortable? Are you okay?
Yeah. We are now having the first integration using Go. We are following. Yeah.
That's okay. Maybe if you can request for questions from the viewers, or now would be a good time maybe to answer them.
Okay.
Because I just go through this.
Yeah, pretty cool. So far I haven't seen one yet from the people who have popped in the chat, in the live.
Okay.
Yes, I haven't seen a question yet.
That's okay.
So you're sending a request from the XML that you had
From
on
Go to BC.
Yeah. Oh, from Go to BC.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Let me just see where the error is and lives. So the thing that Postman usually does is it's not really like the perfect tool. It just gives you a direction on maybe what you should do and how you should approach your problem. So in this case, it hasn't included the headers for authentication. It just has the basic headers. So you can see things like SoapAction and the content type. So these are the basic ones that it has provided for you in that code. Okay, so I'll just proceed to maybe do some headers for authorization. I hope you don't mind if I share my screen.
Okay, yeah.
For a brief period, yes.
Sure. So the introduction seemed we have done an hour with the introduction before doing the integration.
Yes, yes.
So do you mind if we split it, or you're still okay with just doing it in one video?
We can split it. We can split it and make it maybe. We can use JSON on the next phase video. Yeah.
Yeah. I believe people have followed. The introduction was a little bit quite long, and yes. At times we thought we'll do it in an hour, but I had to let it flow because of having some key introductions that people might need to have heard, which is very much okay. So we will split it and have maybe the second phase. We'll just share a link for the second part of this particular recording, and then we now finish that particular introduction with the 3 languages. I believe that will still work okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that will still work okay. That's good. That's perfect.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you for showing up. Thank you for that good introduction to web services. And we look forward to now using the three languages now.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you as well for the platform.
Sure.
Thank you for maybe giving me this opportunity to share the knowledge with the community.
You're most welcome. And we'll do more. We believe we'll do more. We'll do even more videos on web services.
Okay.